Today on Michelle's Seat at the Table, I'm joined by Suezette Yasmin Robotham, a visionary tech executive, speaker, coach, thought leader, and the author of Beyond Titles, Fearlessly Leading as Your Authentic Self. Pull up a chair. Michelle's Seat at the Table is a podcast about leadership, community, and the conversations that shape us. This is a space for those navigating the complexities of leading teams and building communities. So whether you're finding your voice, building a team, or simply looking for a place where you belong, there's a seat here for you. Pull up a chair and join me, your host, Michelle Radney, at the table. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Suzette. Welcome to the table. I'm so excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you for creating room for me at your table. I appreciate you.
There is always room at the table. I'm so excited for the conversation today. Thank you for making time because you, my friend, are booked and busy doing so many wonderful things. But this conversation and this table, I created this platform to have honest conversations about leadership, about community, and really discussion about the moments that shape us and shape who we are. So before we get too far into it, tell the people who you are, Miss Suzette.
Well, thank you. Michelle, everything happened when it's supposed to, so I'm so grateful to be reconnected, to have my seat at your table. My name is Suezette Yasmin Robotham, and I'm a multi-hyphenate. You can't have a book, right? So one of my titles being author about Beyond Titles without honoring that it's the different parts of my life that make me a whole woman. And so, daughter, sister,
all
friend,
of that, yes,
auntie, cousin. I've spent the last 10 years of my career in tech. Before that, I spent the vast majority of my career in education and education reform, really focused on creating access and opportunity. And so as also a child of God, my purpose on this earth is to create access and opportunity for folks in whatever space and capacity I am in, and also friend.
Yes. More importantly, friend. Well, congratulations on all of the things that you've done and you've been doing. I've been watching you. I've been watching your star rise and shine, and I'm so proud of you. And so you did mention author, and you recently published a book called Beyond Titles, Fearlessly Leading as Your Authentic Self. And so maybe we could start by you telling us what inspired you to write this book.
Michelle, I'm going to tell you two sides of the story.
Okay.
So my dad has always been like, you got a book in you, right? And but your parents always believe in you,
yes,
right? And I've been writing since I was a little girl. So I talk about in the book, like being really a chatty child and my mother being like, we got to redirect this energy, but have been writing my whole life, right? But I think for a lot of people, like a book is a goal, right? And so they've done like these deep dive studies into like, this is the book business and this is how you become an author. For me, and I would say like what has been really the beauty of my leadership and professional journey is folks seeing something in me and calling it out, right? And creating an opportunity for me.
Yes.
And so a girlfriend of mine, I happened to actually be in London, and she's like, you need to write a book. I was like, okay, great girl.
Sure. Let me just get out my pen and get going.
Right. And she just published, and she's like, and I want to connect you to my publisher. It's like, okay, wonderful, right? And so the UK team, her UK team connected me to the American team, had a conversation, and the editor was like, okay, here's the proposal outline. Get it back to us. So then I give myself 90 days. I'm like, okay. Don't rush into this. Like, really think about what you're going to do.
Be intentional.
Exactly. But I get to day 80 and I'm like, what's supposed to go in this proposal? So and then because I've always been an entrepreneur, like I'm still working full time, still thinking about this, and ended up being at Cannes Lion for work. And, one of my mentors was there, and I'm like on the beach, like sobbing, like I'm supposed to get this proposal that I don't know what I'm still going to put in a proposal. And she's also like my big sister. And Talitha was like, you got an expertise in something. Like, what's the problem? Like, why are you have an expertise, right? And for me, it was like a reflection point of, oh yeah, like in 2015, I did this whole TEDx on, the phenomena, right, or the currents of covering and work that was informed by the study that Deloitte University had done. And I have been training and coaching on that for 10 years, right? And so, I mean, in 2017, a bank came to me and was like, could you create a training for our Canadian leadership team on your TEDx, right? So it's not like I had something so foreign to me, but it just didn't occur to me that that should be the book. So go back, finish the proposal. Publisher is like, that's great, but we don't think you have enough reach. So the day I got that feedback, right. And I was like, and what they wanted me to do, right, when we think about the balance of our career commitments and our personal endeavors, they wanted me to have like more speaking engagements to show I have more reach.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, actually that doesn't work because I don't want to ever be in conflict with my job. And so, but also if I'm out in these streets, I would like to be talking about my book. So it was this interesting balance of I have the reach, but I also need to have the product, right? So anyway, but what she, in that process, also signaled to me, it's not that my concept or my book or my proposal is wrong. You're just not the right person for me. So, or publishing house. So just so happened, again, synchronicities, serendipity, all the other stuff, but much more synchronicity in this case. The day I got the semi-rejection, because they're like, we want to stay open to you, I was having dinner with my girlfriend, Helene. And Helene and I met in a pasture in Israel in a leadership program, herding sheep. And so like, this is like my sister for real, because we done been through some stuff.
That is like all the way full circle herding sheep.
I love her, right? But Helene and herding sheep had just herded her own first book into being published. And so the day that I got the semi-rejection, I was having dinner with her and I was like, yeah, just had a publisher turn me down. And she's like, forget them. I want to introduce you to my publisher today.
We're going to do this
book deal. We're doing this book. And she introduced me to my managing editor, Debbie, at Post Hill. I sent her the exact same, proposal that I had gotten from, that I'd used. So it had their branding, everything. And Debbie's like, I'd like to talk to her today. So I talked to her the same day and she made the verbal offer. And for me, the signals were, one, people have to be excited about you. And I love my editor. Like Debbie's been supportive throughout the journey, but also, right, like listening for what the message is, especially in the rejection. Because it could have been easy for me to like throw my hands up and be like, oh, like I'm not meant to have a book because this publishing house didn't want me.
Yeah.
But the signal was, you're not excited about me, but my idea is still a great, plausible idea. And so, I got the book deal in September of 2024. I signed it and she was like, okay, well, you know how publishing works, right? And I'm like, man, like, I don't want to like show my hand, but I haven't done, like, this has all been like,
I'm new at this.
Right.
Give me the baby steps. Walk me through exactly how I need to do this.
Right. And so the thing that I then learned is, oh yeah, if you want to come out in 2025, the book needs to be in now. So you actually have until...
You're behind. We just signed you, but you're behind.
Listen, and you've like signed with the proposal. So Debbie's like, no, just the manuscript. I need it by December 15th. And I'm like, girl, it is September. I don't have a book yet. And so she's like, okay, I'll give you an extension. I'll give you until January 3rd. And so I was off to the races, right? And had a fully supportive leader. So I was like, what I will say is I've also been in the company, but being blessed by having leaders that see and value me. And so, have very transparent conversation. Thank God for, at the time, unlimited vacation. I took off a week, went to Jamaica to start the book, and then took off a lot of time at the end of December to meet that January 3rd deadline, right? And so I will also transparently say, even if I would have had a year, I probably, because again, like still working full time, still like committed to like growing and developing that space, I probably would have done the book in the period of time I did it before. But that's how Beyond Titles came to be.
I love that. And I love the story because it sounds like it's multiple shots on goal. And so as we think about just our careers and opportunities, companies, managers, all of those things, there's a lot of richness in that story. I recently did an episode for my podcast on authenticity. And one of the things in your book, which I love, and I listened to your book. So I just want to say this. So I didn't read it. So I don't have a book to like hold up and show people.
We'll have to make sure you get one.
I'll have to get one.
I'll do it for the people.
You show it for the people. There you go. That's for the people. So I listened to the audio version. It's a little over 3 hours. What I love is that it's you actually reading it. And so the stories that you tell about your parents and your daddy and being chatty and in the car and the emotion and the inflection, that's why I do really enjoy audiobooks, especially if the author is reading them. But one of the things that you talk about in your book is code switching.
Mhm.
And I've been talking about authenticity and masks that we wear, is what my podcast episode was about. So tell me a little bit about code switching, because you also spoke to this in your TED Talk that
Yeah.
you referred to, and I watched also.
Thank you. And I will say thank you. The Audible was fun to do because that emotion you feel, I felt bad for my sound engineer. Like I'm in the middle crying. "Ah." And he's like, it's okay. It's okay.
We can edit some of those. Yes.
But for code switching in particular, really very much what I appreciate about Deloitte University in particular is holding themselves to task about continuing the conversation about the impacts of covering and code switching on folks in the workplace and what it actually now ultimately means in terms of mental health and well-being, performance, right? And giving data to this conversation around authentic leadership. Because I think when we talk, there are so many different lenses on authenticity. And I want to be clear, when I'm talking about authentic leadership and authenticity in the workplace, it's multi-layered, right? Because I think it's very often that when we think about code switching, the first level is physical. So how do I show up? How do I look? Do I look like other people?
Yeah.
But I want to get more into the behavioral action values-based part of it. But code switching in particular, right? So in the context of this study, Deloitte found that about 61% of people actively, which I think about active, at some point it becomes unconscious in just the way your modus operandi, right? But 61% of folks, regardless of race, gender, creed, code, whatever, are going to work every single day hiding some aspect of their identity in order to fit into what the mainstream culture is for that organization. And what is fascinating for me, right? So again, study came out 2014. They re-released the study in 2024. And so the data that I have in my book, it was timely because it's from that. And what they found in 2024 was 61% of people, regardless, are still doing this in the workplace. And so for me, what that then signals is, what is it about the work environment? What is it about the ways that we're teaching people? What is it about the things that we're valuing leadership that have people code switching? What is different about the 2024 study is that they clicked into different layers of the code switching, right? So they've always had it around gender. As you can imagine, women code switching cover more than men.
Sure.
By race, you see it broken out by Black, Hispanic, Latino, etc. The data actually shows that there is, across all of these racial backgrounds, a higher percentage of even folks in the Asian American identity that code switch. But they also broke it out by level. And you see a higher percentage, right, of senior level executives that are hiding aspects of their identity in the workplace. And in this version of the study, they then looked at the impacts on mental health and well-being, with, again, over 60% of people saying it's causing anxiety and depression.
I believe that.
Right. And so for me, it is, when you talk about this, there is a bottom line revenue impact, right? And so the World Health Organization also released a study that found that $12 billion is lost every single year globally because of people taking off of work due to mental health and anxiety. And when you,
that's significant.
Right. And not to make false correlation, but if you have that high of a percentage of people that are covering the workplace saying it's impacting their mental health, you have to see there's some alignment in the workplace culture, how people are able to show up in that dollar amount. And so somebody might be like, okay, Suzette, I hear you talking about the numbers of it, but what does it actually look like? And code switching doesn't happen in one way. It could be the physical form. It could be not talking about being a parent, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want people to see you as not being able to show up or perform. It
Yeah.
could be not identifying with a particular group because you don't want people to make assumptions about you, right? Or, you being aligned or participating in ERGs, you not
Yeah.
doing that because you don't want people to assume that, oh, well, my case, right? Blackness might be like informing why not only you're here, but how you perform and show up. So code switching can look like a number of different
Yeah.
things.
I find that
Oftentimes,
really interesting.
right. And it can start consciously, but I think ultimately, like once you get into the habit and the 61%, it just becomes a way of people operating sometimes.
Yeah, it's something that, so I spoke about it and I see it. I experienced it. I tell a story about just even my struggles and some of the shame that I carried because I didn't want people to know my background and where I came from. And I didn't have, these fancy degrees or money. And I do think, depending upon the corporate culture that you are in, if there's a corporate
Yeah.
culture, it does shape. And so habitually, just over the years, it became something that I don't want people to know or find out, right? And as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more mature in my career, I started to realize that one, it was exhausting, but two, that I wasn't being authentic and it was a barrier to some relationships. Like people want to know who you are, people that you work with, right? And it's how you build trust also. So I really enjoyed listening to your view around it, and I think that when people listen to this, they'll want to go and dig a little bit more because it's easily identifiable.
Absolutely. You as a sales leader also, I know how important that the feeling and experience of your team and employees are, right? But the data also shows organizations that allow for an authentic
Yeah,
environment, right? Actually perform at 147% more per share than their competitors, right? And so there are also like quantifiable elements
yes,
to this in terms of like what next level of performance do you unlock when you create an environment where people can show up and more
yeah,
importantly lead as they are, right? And build that deep trust and build that understanding. And the thing that I want people to understand when I'm talking about authentic leadership, I am like conscious and very aware of the fact that when we are working for other organizations and companies, policies and protocols and procedures are put into place not only to create an equal playing field, but also to keep us safe. So
sure,
I'm not saying that, right? Like we should be like creating these environments where people are just doing whatever. But when you and I show up as leaders,
mm-hmm.
can we create the conditions, environments where people can actually show up and perform and actually drive results in a ways that feel right to us without needing to hide or like be like, well, no, I'm not going to tell you about being a mom because I don't want you to think as a mom that I'm not going to do my best work.
Uh-huh, yeah. Or I'm not available for a certain project or a certain
Exactly.
amount of work because of that. No, I think that's great. Okay, so I have a few rapid fire questions for
These are
you.
my favorite kind of questions.
Have a little bit of fun. So, are you currently binge watching anything?
Yes. And you are going to be shocked because I had to go back to binge watch this. So
Okay.
I am a huge reality television fan. I've watched all the reels, all the loves, all those things. And so Carlos King recently had Royce Reed on his podcast because they are canceling Basketball Wives. And
Oh,
so, right.
I
And
didn't know
so,
that. I'm not a
yes.
I'm not a viewer, but this is information. Okay.
Well, it came out this week. So Shawnee Henderson announced that she's not bringing it back. And I, of course, like been a Basketball Wives fan since they were in Miami. And so last night after watching this interview, because they were talking about like some of the best seasons, I went back and started binge watching last night Basketball Wives. And so I'm like, season one showed you like, man, this was so bad. So I just started Basketball Wives over. I watched all of the Real Housewives except OC. Um, I'm also now that the Valley Persian style, so the Shahs of Sunset are now there. And I watch everything. So also Industry. I finished like the most recent episode of Industry, but my new re-entry is I'm rewatching all of Basketball Wives because I'm like, oh yeah, those first three seasons were the best seasons.
Okay. Next question. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am, as you also see in the book, a night owl. And there's a study. I'm going to find it and send it to you for like resources for your readers. Fast Company released an article. So I listen to 12 podcasts every morning.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, 12 different news podcasts to start the day, like in tech, business, um, international news, local news, weather, etc. So Fast Company has a daily podcast, and they had an article last week about if organizations actually honor, like biologically, we are built to have different awareness times and different
Mm-hmm.
awakeness times, right? We would set our meeting schedules differently. And so in a perfect world, I would probably like start my workday at like 12
Yeah.
or 1.
Yes. Well, especially if you stay up too late binge watching Basketball Wives, you're going to need a
Listen,
later start.
I woke up and was back in the episode. I was like, oh man, I fell asleep on the couch watching it because I was like, oh my God, this was so good. So yes,
Okay. When you're working, do you prefer complete silence or a playlist?
playlist and or TV. So I have a TV in my office too. And if as long as it's a show that I don't have to pay attention to. So that's when like the
The
reality shows come
background.
in. Right.
Okay. Final question. For vacation,
Mhm.
beach, mountain, or city?
Beach, always. I'm a water sign and I need water to restore and heal.
I love that. I'm beach also. I knew that actually about you.
Yes.
So as we wrap up, I'm so excited for all that you have going on. Thank you again for being a guest at the table today. In our final remarks, and I will include in the show notes, but please tell everyone how to find you, how to follow you. You've got so much excitement going on. You've got a great website, but let us know how to connect with you outside of Michelle's seat at the table.
Well, thank you again for including me at your table, my beautiful friend. I would say first place to find me is always my website. So www.suzette, S-U-E, because I'm extra special,
Mm-hmm.
Z-E-T-T-E. The website gives you more information about the work I'm doing, also resources to support the book. So if folks get the book or are listening to the book and you want the companion workbook, it lives there. And also you can join my newsletter, which comes out every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So definitely there. On most social media platforms, I'm also just Suzette. As an early adopter of tech, I tend to get my name first, although it did not happen on TikTok. I don't know who Suzette on TikTok or X is, but Suzette on LinkedIn, at Suzette on Instagram. And you will find different elements of like coaching and conversations there. I do also do some executive coaching as well as have a mentorship program. And so love to stay connected with folks in that way for sure.
Thank you. It has been such a pleasure having you at the table for this exciting conversation, and we are cheering you on. Keep shining, keep doing all of the amazing things. And until next time, keep being great.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Michelle's Seat at the Table. I'm so glad you pulled up a chair today. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend or a colleague. Invite them to the table. There's always room. Also, remember to hit the follow or subscribe button, and please give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. I'm Michelle Radney. Keep leading, keep growing, and making room for others at the table.